The fluorescent lights hummed softly in the corridor as Sarah Martinez adjusted her stethoscope and checked her watch. 11:47 p.m. Her 12-hour shift was far from over, and the intensive care unit was quieter than usual for a Friday night. She had been a nurse for 5 years, but nights like these still felt endless. Room 314 had been assigned to her earlier that evening. A John Doe, brought in unconscious after a severe car accident. No identification, no family contacted yet, just a man fighting for his life. The police had found him in an expensive suit, but that told them little. In Sarah's experience, appearances could be deceiving, and right now all that mattered was keeping him stable. She pushed open the door quietly, expecting to find him still unconscious as he had been for the past 6 hours. Instead, she was startled to see his eyes open, staring at the ceiling with a confused, vulnerable expression she had never seen on an adult's face before. "Hey there," she said softly, moving to his bedside. "You're in Metro General Hospital. You were in an accident, but you're safe now. My name is Sarah, and I'm your nurse tonight." He turned his head slowly toward her voice, wincing with the movement. When their eyes met, Sarah felt something unexpected, a jolt of connection that made her pause mid-step. His eyes were a deep, brown, intelligent despite the pain medication, and filled with a gratitude that seemed to reach right into her chest. I can't remember," he whispered, his voice hoarse from the breathing tube that had been removed just hours earlier. "That's normal after a head injury," Sarah assured him, checking his monitors. "The important thing is that you're awake and responsive. What's your name? Do you remember anything at all?" He closed his eyes, concentrating. "Michael," he said, finally. "Michael, something. Everything else is just fog." Sarah smiled reassuringly. "Well, Michael something, you're going to be just fine. Your vitals are strong, and the doctors are very optimistic about your recovery. Are you in pain? I can adjust your medication." As the night wore on, Sarah found herself lingering in his room longer than necessary. Michael was different from most patients she cared for. Despite his obvious discomfort and confusion, he was polite, even trying to crack weak jokes about his situation. When she brought him ice chips, he thanked her as if she had brought him a 5-course meal. "You don't have to stay," he said around 2 a.m., noticing how she had arranged the chair beside his bed. "I'm sure you have other patients." "I do," Sarah admitted. "But it's a quiet night, and head injury patients need monitoring. Besides, you shouldn't be alone right now." What she didn't say was that she genuinely enjoyed his company. In 5 years of nursing, she had cared for thousands of patients. But something about Michael's gentle demeanor and the way he looked at her, as if she were performing miracles instead of basic medical care, made her want to stay. They talked, in whispers through the early morning hours. Michael couldn't remember his past, but he was articulate and thoughtful. He asked about her work, her life, listening intently to her stories about nursing school and her small apartment across town. Sarah found herself sharing more than she usually did, telling him about her dreams of traveling, her love of old movies, her fear that she was too focused on work to ever find real love. "You're extraordinary," Michael said suddenly, around 4 a.m. "I may not remember much about my life, but I know kindness when I see it. You have this light about you, Sarah. Whoever ends up with you will be the luckiest person in the world." Sarah felt her cheeks warm. "You're still on pain medication." "Michael, you might feel differently when you're fully recovered." "No," he said with surprising certainty. "Some things you just know, medication or not." As dawn approached, other staff began arriving for the day shift. Sarah realized with surprise that the night had passed faster than any shift in her recent memory. She had been so engrossed in conversation with Michael that she had barely noticed the time. "I have to go soon," she said reluctantly, The day nurse will take great care of you. Michael's face fell slightly. Will I see you again? I work 3 nights a week, Sarah said. If you're still here tomorrow night, I hope I am, he said, then caught himself. I mean, I hope I get to see you again. Not that I want to stay in the hospital. Sarah laughed, the first genuine laugh she'd had at work in months. As she gathered her things, she couldn't shake the feeling that this night had changed something fundamental in her world, though she couldn't quite name what it was. 3 days later, Sarah returned to find Michael sitting up in bed, looking significantly better, but still unable to remember anything beyond his first name. The police had made no progress identifying him, and the hospital's social worker was beginning to discuss options for patients without insurance or family support. Sarah felt a knot of worry in her stomach that she couldn't quite explain. Sarah! Michael's face lit up when she entered his room, and she felt that same unexpected flutter in her chest. I was hoping you'd be working tonight. How are you feeling? She asked, checking his chart. His progress was remarkable. The doctors were amazed at how quickly he was healing. Better every day, thanks to you, he said. Though I have to admit I'm getting worried about, well, everything. The social worker says if they can't identify me soon, I'll need to be transferred to a county facility. I don't even know if I can pay for the treatment I've already received. Sarah's heart ached at the anxiety in his voice. Over the past few days, she had found herself thinking about Michael constantly during her days off. She told herself it was professional concern, but she knew it was more than that. Don't worry about the money right now, she said. Let's focus on getting you healthy. Your memory might come back gradually. What if it doesn't? Michael asked quietly. What if this is all I am now? A man with no past, no identity, no way to take care of himself. Sarah sat in the chair beside his bed, something she had started doing naturally. Then you build a new identity. You're kind, intelligent, and funny. You're a good person, Michael. That's not something you can forget. It's who you are at your core. Over the following nights, their bond deepened. Michael proved to be an excellent listener, asking thoughtful questions about Sarah's life and dreams. She found herself opening up to him in ways she never had with anyone, sharing her fears about her parents' expectations, her loneliness, her worry that she was becoming too comfortable with solitude. You know what I think? Michael said one night as they watched the city lights through his window. I think you're afraid of being hurt. You've built these walls around yourself, focusing on taking care of everyone else so you don't have to risk letting someone take care of you. Sarah was quiet for a long moment. That's very insightful for someone who can't remember his own last name. Maybe forgetting everything else has made me see what's really important, Michael said. Like how your eyes light up when you talk about the places you want to visit, or how you hum without realizing it when you're concentrating, or how you always make sure I have extra blankets even though I never ask. Michael? Sarah began, but he continued. I know this situation is impossible. I know I have no right to feel this way about you when I don't even know who I am. But Sarah, I think I'm falling in love with you. The words hung in the air between them. Sarah's heart raced, torn between the joy of hearing what she had hoped he might feel and the practical reality of their situation. You're vulnerable right now, she said gently. You're grateful for care and kindness, and that can feel like something else. When you recover your memory, when your life comes back to you, you might feel very differently. What if I don't want my old life back? Michael asked. What if I want to build something new, starting with this moment, in this room, with you? Sarah stood up, needing distance to think clearly. Michael, I care about you. More than I should, probably. But I'm your nurse. There are ethical considerations, and beyond that, you're not in a position to make life-changing decisions right now. So you feel it too, Michael said softly. Sarah turned back to him, and the hope in his eyes nearly undid her resolve. Yes, she whispered. I feel it too. But that doesn't mean we can act on it. The next morning, Sarah learned that a social worker had found a potential match for Michael's identity. A missing person report had been filed for a Michael Harrison, a businessman, who had disappeared after leaving his office 3 weeks ago. The timeline and description matched perfectly. As Sarah processed this information, she felt a mixture of relief and dread. Relief that Michael would get his life back, and dread that his life might not have room for a night shift nurse from the wrong side of town. What if he's someone completely different from who I've come to know? She wondered to her colleague Jenny during their break. Then you'll know it wasn't meant to be, Jenny replied practically. But Sarah, honey, you're glowing lately. I haven't seen you this happy ever. Maybe take a chance and see what happens. That night, Sarah entered Michael's room, knowing it might be one of their last nights together. She had decided to tell him about the potential identification. But when she saw him waiting for her with that warm smile, the words stuck in her throat. I have something to tell you, they both said simultaneously, then laughed. You first, Sarah said, settling into her usual chair. Michael took a deep breath. I've been having dreams, fragments of memories. I think my memory might be starting to come back. Sarah's hands trembled slightly as she adjusted Michael's IV bag the next morning. The social worker had confirmed his identity. Michael Harrison, CEO of Harrison Industries, one of the city's most successful tech companies. She had spent her day off researching him online, discovering a world so far removed from her own that it might as well have been another planet. Photos showed him at charity galas, business conferences, and society events, always impeccably dressed and often accompanied by sophisticated women who looked like they had stepped out of fashion magazines. His net worth was estimated in the hundreds of millions. He owned properties in 3 countries and had been featured on magazine covers as one of the city's most eligible bachelors. And here she was, a night shift nurse with student loan debt and a used Honda Civic, who had been foolish enough to fall in love with a man whose world would never intersect with hers under normal circumstances. Sarah, Michael said as she entered his room that evening. I remember everything. She forced a smile, though her heart felt like it was breaking. That's wonderful news. You must be so relieved. Michael studied her face carefully. You know who I am now, don't you? Sarah nodded, unable to meet his eyes. Michael Harrison, CEO of Harrison Industries. The social worker filled me in on the details. Look at me, please, Michael said softly. When Sarah finally raised her eyes to his, she saw not the successful businessman from the photographs, but the same gentle, vulnerable man she had spent countless hours talking with through the long nights. I remember my old life, Michael said. The boardrooms, the deals, the endless meetings. I remember the penthouse apartment that felt more like a hotel room, and the relationships that were more about business connections than genuine feeling. I remember feeling empty despite having everything I thought I wanted. He paused, reaching for her hand. But more importantly, I remember every conversation we've had, every laugh we've shared, every moment you've shown me what real kindness looks like. Sarah, recovering my memory hasn't changed how I feel about you. If anything, it's made me more certain. Sarah pulled her hand away gently. Michael, you're going back to your real life now. A life with responsibilities, expectations, a social circle that would never accept someone like me. What we had here was special, but it was also separate from reality. What if I don't want to go back to that life? Michael asked. What if I want to build something different? You can't throw away everything you've worked for, Sarah protested. You have a company, employees who depend on you, a whole world waiting for your return. Michael was quiet for a moment. My assistant has been running things perfectly in my absence. The company is stronger than ever. Maybe that's a sign that I was never as indispensable as I thought. He leaned forward. Sarah, I've spent 15 years building a fortune, and in 3 weeks with you, I've felt more alive than in all those years combined. The medication, the trauma, it's made everything more intense, Sarah said, even as her heart yearned to believe him. Once you're back in your normal environment, surrounded by your usual life, this will feel like a dream. Then come with me, Michael said suddenly. Let me show you that this isn't just gratitude or medication or trauma. Give us a real chance. Sarah stared at him. Michael, we're from completely different worlds. I'm a nurse who lives paycheck to paycheck. You're you. It would never work. Why? Because I have money? Sarah, money is just a tool. It can't make you happy, trust me, I've tried. But you, being with you, talking with you, seeing the world through your eyes, that's made me happier than I've ever been. The next few days passed in a blur. Michael was discharged, but not before leaving Sarah his personal phone number and an invitation to dinner. She threw the paper away twice and retrieved it twice, finally keeping it in her pocket like a talisman she was. Afraid to use. Her friends were divided in their advice. Some urged her to take the chance of a lifetime, while others warned her about the reality of relationships across economic divides. Sarah found herself working extra shifts, trying to exhaust herself enough to stop thinking about Michael's offer. A week after his discharge, Sarah arrived at work to find a stunning bouquet of her favorite flowers, daisies, simple and cheerful, waiting at the nurse's station. The card read, "Thank you for showing me what really matters. The offer stands whenever you're ready. M." "Honey, if you don't call that man, I will," Jenny said, reading over Sarah's shoulder. "Do you know how rare it is to find someone who sees you the way he obviously sees you?" That night, during her break, Sarah finally called the number. Michael answered on the first ring. "Sarah?" His voice was warm with relief and joy. "I'm scared," she said without preamble. "So am I," Michael admitted. "I'm scared that you'll decide I'm not worth the risk. I'm scared that I won't be able to show you how much you mean to me. But I'm more scared of spending my life wondering what we could have been." Sarah closed her eyes. "What are you proposing exactly?" "Dinner. Conversation. Getting to know each other outside of a hospital room. No pressure, no expectations beyond seeing if this connection we feel is real in the outside world. And if it is real, if we do care about each other, what then? I won't be someone's secret, Michael. I won't be hidden away because I don't fit your image." "Sarah," Michael said firmly, "I would be proud to have you by my side anywhere, anytime. You're the most genuine, caring, intelligent woman I've ever met. If anyone in my world has a problem with that, they're not people I want in my life anyway." 3 months later, Sarah stood in Michael's penthouse apartment, no longer overwhelmed by the luxury, but by the way, he had slowly filled it with things that reflected both of their tastes. Books she had mentioned wanting to read, photographs from the weekend trips they had taken together, a comfortable reading nook by the window where they spent Sunday mornings. "I have something to tell you," Michael said, pulling her into his arms as they watched the sunset over the city. "Please tell me you're not losing your memory again," Sarah teased. Michael laughed, the sound she had grown to love more than any music. "No, quite the opposite. I'm remembering something very clearly." He dropped to one knee, pulling out a simple, elegant ring. "I'm remembering the moment I knew I wanted to spend my life with you. It was that first night when you stayed with me through the darkness and showed me what love really looks like." Through tears of joy, Sarah said yes to the man who had taught her that sometimes the most unexpected connections are the ones that change everything. Their wedding 6 months later was a perfect blend of both their worlds, elegant but warm, sophisticated but genuine, surrounded by people who loved them for who they truly were together.